Hey friends, it's Jill here with the Hometown Homestead, and today I want to talk to the person who's considering gardening this year for the very first time. And I want to encourage you that the first thing you need to do is simply commit. And what do I mean by commit? I want you to decide right now that you're going to take a small piece of your family's food security back into your own hands. Now, will it all be perfect? No. Will every seed that you plant grow? No. Can I promise that rabbits won't come in and eat down half of your tomato crop? No. But what I can tell you is that you will grow some amazing food if you stick with it and commit to making something happen. So I want to start out with a few tips that helped me along the way and that might help you out too. Firstly, I want you to make a plan and think about the 3 or 4 main crops that you could grow that would make a huge difference for your family. Now, for us last year, I focused on tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. Now, did I grow some other things? Yes, but I didn't spend a lot of time researching them, and I didn't put a lot of effort into them because I wanted to pull off those 4 main crops and impact our food storage for the rest of the year. Now, I was able to put away a year's worth of tomato products, a year's worth of salsa, tons of diced canned tomatoes, and a lot of other things. We also ended up with a year's worth of pickles. We did eat through our potatoes rather fast, but I learned a lot from that. And I'm going to take what I learned this year moving forward and plant twice as many and a little bit earlier, plus plant a fall crop. Now, I learned all of that because I took the time to focus on those 3 or 4 main crops to start out, and that should keep you from getting overwhelmed right from the get-go. Now, what am I talking about when I'm saying learn about the crops? Well, for me, that meant turning off the TV programming and switching to YouTube where I could learn specifically from those who have been there before. So I quit watching everything on cable news and network TV and went to people that could encourage, inspire, and promote growth in my mind as well as my heart, which turned out to be growth in my garden too. Now, is this easy? No. Does it sound impossible when you first start to think about getting rid of everything you're used to watching? Maybe, but I can promise it'll pay off in big ways, not just at the grocery store in your budget from what you harvest, but physically and emotionally as well. There's an old saying that what you focus on expands. So would you rather that be a tomato, or would you rather that be that show that you're watching on TV right now that's taking up a lot of your time and not adding anything of value to your life? I know the answer. I don't want to be expanding on my couch unless I'm expanding in knowledge at the same time. And that's what I was able to do by finding a few channels on YouTube that have been at this gardening thing way longer than me and were able to point me in the direction that might be able to help. So if you're looking for some of those channels, look at The Homesteading Family and Luke from In My Gardener, and of course Roots and Refuge for tips on how to grow those 3 or 4 crops that you already have in mind. Now, my third tip is to find a good seed supplier. Last year, I got most of my seeds from Baker Creek, and I really was happy with them. And I also got a few from In My Gardener. Now, I mentioned In My Gardener before as a great channel to follow if you're interested in learning how to garden. And the seed packets are really awesome. Every packet is going to give you a little bit different information. And I find that what Luke has put on the back of these packets is really good. As far as a tomato goes, it'll tell you if it's going to be determinate or indeterminate, which makes huge difference in how you're actually going to grow the plant, as well as how many days to maturity. It also tells you when to start them indoors, spacing, and all sorts of extra tips that don't come on every single packet. So I really do like what I get from In My Gardener as far as seeds, quality, and packaging. I mentioned Baker Creek earlier. If you are new to seeds and new to gardening, a catalog like this is actually really valuable. You can actually purchase a bigger version that has every single seed that they have inside, but it has beautiful pictures and tells tons of details about all the seeds that you could grow inside. And this is a good backup reference for some of the information that isn't found on every single packet. Even the packets you get from In My Gardener don't tell you everything you need to know about a plant. So having the actual seed catalog for the specific variety is a really great resource to keep around all year long if you need to find some specific details about the seeds that you planted. Now, while we're talking seeds, I want to take just a minute to tell you to rein it in. because you can find hundreds and hundreds of varieties of tomatoes, literally like thousands of varieties of tomatoes. But the truth is, you're a new gardener and you need to start out small. So figure out what your purpose is. Are you planting seeds for something that you're hoping to only eat fresh, or are you planning on preserving those for use down the road? And if you're planning to preserve them, how are you planning to preserve them? This little tomato is the one that I planted last year and focused on for my cherry-sized tomatoes. It's actually more of a grape size. It's a determinate tomato, meaning it didn't vine out all over my garden beds. And also it's famous for sun drying and a great option for sauce making. That means it doesn't have a lot of gel and a ton of seeds inside like some of the other varieties that you're going to have for fresh slicing. I also grew aroma tomato, which is also great for sauce. Now, if I would have just grown a whole bunch of slicers, like this Kellogg's breakfast, I would have had a lot of water and juice in my sauce, more seeds than I wanted, and it would have taken more product to put those jars on my shelf. So making sure of what your purpose is and what you're planning to do with them is super important when picking your seeds. Like I said, for me last year, I stuck to these two. These two will come back again. I'm going to add another paste tomato, but for the most part, my focus is going to be here. I am going to start a bunch of other seeds, but I'm only going to do 1 or 2 plants of each of the new varieties that I'm trying to make sure that they're tomatoes that I love and want to dedicate space to my garden in for years going forward. The bulk of my production for everything that I'll need going forward is going to be something that I know is going to work. To use this guy, you just want to slide to where your first frost date is right in line, and then it'll tell you for your spinach, you're going to first plant on this day, you're going to be able to harvest on these days. Then it has SI, you're going to start these specific plants, you're going to put your broccoli starts indoors on February 22nd, plant them out 2 weeks before the first frost, and then you're going to be able to harvest in this general area. Figuring all this out when you're a new gardener is tough, and it can bring a lot of overwhelm. So when you have a tool like this that's only a few dollars, it really, really is something that's great to have in your pocket. Now, I went through and took all of those dates and put them on my schedule, so I know in my planner what days I'm going to start what seeds, when I'm going to plant them out, and when I can expect my harvest. So right now, at this point in February, that work is done for me, and I don't have to think about that moving forward. When gardening is on your mind, you need to learn how to start seeds. Now, this isn't something you have to do perfectly, and it's not something you have to invest a lot of money in right off the bat to get going either. Now, of course you can, but it's not necessary. Last year, all of my seeds were started in toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls that I cut down to size, or red Solo cups. Now, as you can see, these are some of mine that I have left over from last year. So I don't even need to go buy new red Solo cups to use a similar plan for this year. I will need to either A, plant the same seed in here, or B, mark them out when I transplant them to make sure I know what I have. But definitely understand you don't have to make big investments to get started. Something that is biodegradable and easily transplanted straight into the garden is a decent way to go. I will give you one word of caution. My plan last year was just to take a Sharpie and write the name on the toilet paper roll or the paper towel holder, just like I did the cups, and it did not work out. When these start to get wet from the watering, you're going to notice that all of your words start to bleed and run. So that marker is not a good idea. I had better luck with a pen, but the best idea is put a little flag in there that gives the name and can move along with it and is not going to be impacted by the moisture of the actual product itself. Another great way to start seeds is in egg cartons, and I did a few of these last year too. I've saved all of my egg cartons this year, and this is a 2 dozen egg carton, so it's going to be able to put a lot in it, and I can also plant in the top as well. So don't leave out simple solutions, and don't skip starting seeds because you think you're not equipped. If you want to spend some money, there are trays you can get from a place called Bootstrap Farmer that look awesome. I haven't used them, but I did find some of these burpees trays on sale last year, and they're really cool because you can just push up in the bottom and your whole plot comes out to transplant it over into your garden or wherever. So I grabbed a couple of these on Amazon last year, and I will be using them, but I'm going to start the bulk of mine in the other options because I'm not going to be investing a bunch more money in these. I'm just going to continue to pick up things that are going to help me out when I have the funds and when I see them on sale. Other things that I did invest in is a small seed starting mat. It's kind of like a heating pad, that stays really low temp, and a small grow light that's on a clamp that I also got from Amazon. And I'll put links to those down in the comments. They are not necessary specifically if you have a nice warm sunny window where you can put your seeds, but they do help out with the germination and help to get the plants up and going in a faster way. And those lights help because then the plant isn't trying to reach for the sun coming out of that window. They can go straight up and have nice strong trunks. This is my soil currently, and these are the beds that I have left over from last year, plus in the distance what I've just recently installed. They're not covered with weeds, and I didn't spend the entire summer pulling them because we put in no-dig garden beds. You definitely do not need a tiller. Focus on building the soil instead of ripping it apart. Research no-dig gardening, and this will keep you from losing your plants to weeds or spending your entire summer pulling them. We recently installed the addition to ours, and I'll link it above. But that said, I'm not an expert at any of this. I was simply just willing to try and willing to fail. While many of you have yard spaces to work with, even if they're small, some of you out there don't have any yard space at all. If you're in that situation and wishing you could garden, don't forget to take advantage of your balcony space if you have one available, because you can grow a whole lot of food in a green stock. And that takes up 2 by 2 feet, and it can grow a ton of food vertically. So even if you're limited on space or just limited on mobility and don't want to bend over to do any gardening at all, you can grow a ton of stuff in a container that won't take up a lot of room and will really be able to benefit your family, even in that situation. One thing that people often say when they talk about gardening is that they wish they could, but everything just dies around them. Now, I'm here to tell you, I have plants inside dying right now. And I don't have the same care and time for houseplants as I do for something that's going to feed and nourish my entire family. And also, I can tell you that if you start seedlings and you raise them to the point where you get them out and in the ground, you're going to care for them in a different way than something that doesn't provide that same substance for your family and you haven't given the same commitment to inside. Once we get past the last frost date, and I bring all of my houseplants outside to where they can get beautiful sun and energy, and I can water them on my way back in from watering my garden, they will thrive. But inside, I'm busy doing other things and they get overlooked. They don't get what they need. So I want to make sure to encourage you that even if you kill everything in your house, you still have the ability to grow a beautiful garden. Aside from the yield that comes from the garden, there are other benefits as well. Touching the soil and connecting to the earth is a huge benefit for the body, mind, and spirit. So if you're interested in any of that, look into grounding and the benefits on your body. And if you suffer from anxiety, stress, depression, or anything of the kind, taking some time to garden can really help you connect back to nature and make a huge difference. Am I saying it's going to cure everything? No. But eating quality food and putting your heart and mind back to work outside, catching some vitamin D, and getting the grounding benefits at the same time will definitely not hurt. The last thing I want to leave you with is an idea. The idea is that anything worth doing is worth doing poorly first. You don't have to be the perfect gardener, and everything doesn't have to succeed in order for you to grow in value and knowledge in getting something done and learning along the way. When a baby starts to learn to walk, they don't succeed the first time, and we still cheer and clap them on when they fall down and help them back up to do it again. So I want to encourage you with that idea. You don't have to get it all right, but you just have to keep trying. So commit right now to grow a garden this year and take some of the food security for your family back into your own hands. So I'm here to tell you that now is the time to get out and grow something. If you have any questions or any comments, leave them below. And if you're interested in following along on our garden adventures, don't forget to subscribe and join us because we're going to have a lot of fun growing a lot of awesome food this year. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you back soon.